Cat's out of the bag, y'all. We allow screen time during school time. If you want to know how I correlate those two, stick around for today's video. So most often we're hearing no screen time. We don't have screens, and people don't include them in their homeschool. And I am here to say, you should do whatever works for you, okay? So I'm just gonna tell you what works for me and how we incorporate screen time into our homeschool and a little bit into our home. But you should do what works for you and for your kids and for the season that you are in. For us, we use screens. And that looks different now than it has in the past. And I feel like for us, this has become the happy medium. My daughter is not allowed individual screen time until her list of things has been completed for the day. If those have all been completed and I have checked back after them and given them the approval, she's allotted 1 hour of screen time each day for just kind of her free time. Obviously with like certain things that I've approved, but she gets to kind of choose. It's not necessarily curriculum based. However, we do use screens in our homeschool. And so this has looked a little different based on curriculums that we're using, different unit topics, and all of those kinds of things. So if you are new to me, hi, welcome. So glad you're here. We are a unit study family. I have one daughter who is 7. And yes, we use screens. So generally when we will do a gather round unit, I have done it really a couple of different ways. I utilize YouTube most often. Hear me out. There's some really good stuff on YouTube, okay? Sometimes it just takes a little bit of pre-planning on our part, or once you have kind of floated around YouTube and you kind of learn which channels are most common, and I'll give you a couple of channels at the end of the video, just kind of some off the top of my head that I can think of, then you'll be able to know, these are generally safe. However, if you happen to come across one or a section in a video, you're like, I don't know about that. You turn it off, you have a conversation, okay? Or you can just preview things. Again, it just depends on how you want to handle that. What I did before, or what I have done in the past, is I have made playlists on YouTube for the individual units. So I will just go through the unit and figure out what the different topics are, maybe different areas that we could pause in the teacher's guide, and take a break and find a video to kind of put in there. Because sometimes reading those teacher's guides, it can be a lot. And so to break it up with a video that kind of ties everything together, gets a little bit of interest, gives me a break for some water, those kinds of things can really be helpful. And I found that it was helping my daughter with her attention as well, because she kind of got a little bit of a brain break, and then we'd go back to reading. And so I have done it that way before. I have also done kind of similarly, so that's creating a YouTube playlist. I have also just gone through the teacher's guide and found sections, again, that I wanted to stop. I would just put a little sticky note there and just say, find video on blank, or, whatever it was. And then I would just do a YouTube search when we got to that section. And generally I could find what I was looking for on a handful of the channels that we're most familiar with, that I feel most confident in just kind of popping up, knowing that most everything is safe there. Again, each video is going to be a little bit different, but that, you've got, you get a couple that you're like, okay, these are all usually pretty good, so we're safe here. So I would do that as well. And then right now we are going through the 50 states unit. That's actually a unit study that I created. I will leave the link for that video down in the description if you guys want to check that one out. I am honestly just winging it. When we get to a spot where we want to find a video, we want to find a video on a certain animal, or we're picking out 2 famous people that lived in that state, I'll just try and find a video on those people. Now, I also always include 4 kids at the end because that generally does a pretty good job of filtering out some things. But most of the time you can just tell by the thumbnail and a little bit of the title and description if this is going to be, if it's going to go in a direction that maybe is not quite age appropriate for how, whatever ages that you have there. It's just going to kind of vary. But generally the adding the 4 kids at the end of the search helps. And we just kind of go with it. And it makes it so much more fun. It makes it so much more engaging to just be able to take the things that we're reading, because sometimes it feels like these are just words, right? So you're just reading these things and it's just things mom is saying. And when you're able to bring it to life in a video and visually, they can see the Glacier National Park and they're seeing the elk come down out of the mountains and the sun glistening in the snow and all of those things. It adds so much magic and so much wonder, and it just really brings it to life. But again, it also gives you that little bit of a brain break. Gives your kids a brain break, but you as well. And again, a water break, because all that talking and reading sometimes, mama just needs a minute. So I love including videos in our unit studies. It's one of our favorite parts. We started doing that with the continent units. So even if you are doing, some kind of geography, you can find some really, really great videos that really help immerse you into the culture. What kind of foods do people eat? You can find videos of people in those countries going to different restaurants and places, and trying different foods, and going to different festivals and listening to the different musics. And that is really what brought the screen time out. When we were going through the Connecting Continents units through Gather Round. So I was like, man, I want to see some videos. It started with Africa. Like, I want to see some videos of these animals and just all of the different regions of Africa and how culturally they can be so different, but yet so much of it can be the same. And so I just really wanted to dive into that. And then once I did, I was like, man, why aren't we doing this for everything? So I really, really encourage you. Screens do not have to be a bad thing, okay? They can be useful. They can be so helpful and so enriching into your homeschool. It may take a little bit of due diligence on your part to ensure that you're getting good quality things on your screens for your children, but man, it can be so, so wonderful. So I really encourage you guys to do that. Some of our favorite channels off the top of my head are SciShow Kids. That's a really great one for like science, anything science related. SciShow Kids. Peekaboo Kids specifically has Dr. Binox. And Dr. Binox talks about all kinds of different things. I think generally it's more science related, but I do think there is a little bit of history type things in there. Adventure Academy is good. They've got history, they've got science. Who else? There are so many that I can't think of at the moment. We love Art for Kids Hub. I'm sure Art for Kids Hub is probably a pretty popular one, but Art for Kids Hub is great for art lessons. My daughter loves that. Oftentimes she will use her allotted 1 hour of screen time for an Art for Kids Hub art session, because it depends on what they're drawing, but sometimes it's only like 10 or 15 minutes. So sometimes she'll get like 3 or 4 drawings in her 1 hour. We also really love, and Octonauts would be really fun, especially if you have youngers. Octonauts is like sea animals that do different rescues and things. So that would be a really fun one. Wildcrats, of course, is a fun one. Those are more of like, they're educational, but they're more of like a fun, TV series episode type thing. We also, my daughter really likes Science Max. He does different science experiments and things like that. So that one is a really great one. We also found Hi-Ho Kids, H-I-H-O Kids, when we were going through the continent units, and specifically the Kids Try and the Kids Meet videos. Those, my daughter really loved those, especially the Kids Try, because a lot of it's kids that are trying different like snacks or desserts or things like that from different countries. And so that was really fun for her to watch, watch the kids try different foods and hear their thoughts and things like that. So that's a really fun one. There's a ton of them out there. If you need a specific idea, or if you're doing a specific unit study and maybe you want some ideas, feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll see what I can find as far as channels go, that maybe you could find some good options. Oh, bedtime history. Bedtime history is a good one for history, obviously, and pursuit of history. Those are good history ones. I feel like I mainly gave science. And there are so many. I can see some of them, and I'm just trying to think of the names of them for kind of your general, they kind of touch on a little bit of everything. But nonetheless, if you have any specifics or if you have any recommendations maybe that we need to check out, feel free to leave those in the comments as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.